There comes a time in life when the silence between generations becomes louder than any word ever spoken, an echo that resonates through the halls of shared memories, where the weight of the years reveals truths that previously remained hidden in the shadows of family life. After the age of 60, when the mirror reflects not only wrinkles but decades of decisions, sacrifices, and choices that shaped destinies, a question arises that many prefer to avoid. Do we really know those we raised? Could it be that, in the whirlwind of responsibilities and expectations, we have lost the essence of what should be most sacred, the genuine connection with our children and grandchildren? Maturity brings with it a clarity that is both cruel and liberating, the realization that many of the family dynamics we took for granted were actually invisible barriers built by inherited patterns, unacknowledged fears, and the constant urgency to be right in a world that never taught us to simply be present. How many important conversations have been postponed indefinitely? How many hugs have been stuck in our throats out of pride, masquerading as protectiveness? The distance we sometimes feel isn't geographic. It's emotional, woven from threads of mutual misunderstanding that have grown stronger over time. But there is something profoundly transformative waiting to be discovered at this stage of life. A rare opportunity to rewrite family narratives that seemed set in stone. 3 specific actions, seemingly simple but revolutionary in their application, can dissolve years of misunderstanding and rebuild bridges that seemed permanently burned. These are not superficial techniques or generic advice. They are shifts in perspective that touch the root of what it means to be a grandparent in an era where the rules of the game have changed completely. Time, that implacable master who once seemed infinite, now whispers a different urgency, not the desperate rush of youth, but the calm wisdom of those who understand that every moment lost in wounded pride is a moment stolen from the genuine joy of watching our descendants flourish on their own journeys. There is a peculiar magic in discovering that, even after decades, we can still be surprised by the capacity to grow, to change, to reinvent ourselves within the most important relationships of our lives. These 3 attitudes you're about to discover aren't just strategies for improving relationships. They're keys that open doors to a version of yourself you may not have even known existed. A version that's more compassionate, more present, more genuinely connected to the legacy that truly matters. Not just what we leave in wills and material inheritances, but the memories we plant in the hearts of those who will continue our story when we're no longer here. Prepare to question truths you thought were absolute and to embrace a vulnerability that can be scary. But that's the only real path to authentic transformation. The first transformation begins with something that seems simple, but has proven to be one of the most challenging skills in the human experience: the art of truly listening, without the constant filter of judgment that has accumulated over decades of knowing what's best. After 60, we carry with us an entire library of experiences, mistakes made, lessons learned. And this wisdom, ironically, can become our greatest pitfall when we try to connect with generations who grew up in completely different realities than our own. How many times, when listening to our children or grandchildren talk about their choices, their fears, their dreams, is our mind already 3 steps ahead, formulating advice, corrections, warnings based on a world that may no longer exist? Silence charged with genuine presence has a magnetic power that few people discover. The ability to create a sacred space where the other feels truly seen, not just heard. When we stop listening to respond and start listening to understand, something magical happens. We discover that our children and grandchildren have rich, complex, nuanced inner worlds that our rush to help used to obscure. They don't always need our solutions. Sometimes they just need our attentive presence, our gaze that says, "I see you, I accept you, you matter to me just as you are." This transformative listening requires quiet courage from us, the courage to confront our own fears disguised as protection, our need for control disguised as love, our urgency to fix situations that may not need fixing, just embracing. When we can offer this rare gift, our full attention without hidden agenda, we create emotional bridges that can heal old wounds, some of which we never even knew existed. It's as if we are finally speaking the same emotional language, even if the generations are different. The interesting thing is that this change in the way we listen doesn't just benefit the person being listened to. It transforms us from within, teaching us things about ourselves that have been hidden for years. We uncover fears that we've projected as advice. We uncover insecurities that manifested as criticism. We discover a love that was always there, but expressed itself in ways that were not understood. Genuine listening becomes an emotional mirror, where we see not only the other person, but also more compassionate and wise versions of ourselves. There is a quiet revolution that happens when we decide to trade the need to be right for the need to be connected. And that revolution always begins with the ears of the heart, not just the ears of the mind. Every conversation becomes an opportunity for mutual discovery. Every shared silence becomes an invisible embrace. Every moment of genuine understanding becomes a seed of intimacy that can blossom into memories our descendants will carry forever. The second thing that changes family relationships after the age of 60 is perhaps the most challenging for a generation that has learned to associate vulnerability with weakness. Allowing our children and grandchildren to see us as imperfect human beings, with scars, doubts, and stories that don't always end happily. For decades, we have maintained the mask of having all the answers, of being the unshakable rock of the family, the pillar that never wavers. But all this strength, however well-intentioned, can create an emotional distance that our descendants interpret as coldness or inauthenticity. Embracing vulnerability means recognizing that our adult children and teenage grandchildren can offer us valuable perspectives, can teach us things that our experience alone has not been able to show us. And this requires a humility that goes against everything we've been taught about respecting our elders. It's not about diminishing our wisdom or devaluing our experience, but about creating a space where the exchange is genuinely two-way, where they too feel valued as individuals capable of contributing to our personal growth. When we share our own uncertainties, our moments of fear, our doubts about decisions we've made throughout our lives, something powerful happens. Our descendants realize they're not alone in their own internal struggles. They discover that imperfection is not a character flaw, but a universal feature of the human experience. And this frees them from an invisible pressure they often carry, the pressure to be perfect to make us proud. Our shared vulnerabilities become bridges of identification that bring hearts closer together across generational divides. This emotional transparency creates a completely new family dynamic, where each member feels free to be authentic, to admit mistakes, to ask for help, to show weaknesses without fear of judgment or disappointment. It is as if the entire family takes a deeper breath, relaxing emotional muscles that have been tense for years. Grandchildren begin to see their grandparents not as distant and unreachable figures, but as companions on the journey who have also stumbled, gotten up, learned, and kept going. Authentic vulnerability has a magnetic quality. It attracts trust, intimacy, deeper, more meaningful conversations. When we stop pretending we have all the answers, we create space for our children and grandchildren to share their own questions, their own fears, their own discoveries. And in that process of genuine exchange, we discover that mature love is not the love that shields from life, but the love that walks together through life, side by side, heart to heart. The third transformation requires perhaps the greatest act of emotional courage a parent or grandparent can undertake. Letting go of the reins of control and trusting deeply in the process of growing up, even when their choices cause us anxiety, even when their paths seem dangerous or different from what we consider ideal. For decades, our role has been to protect, guide, and direct. But after 60, our greatest contribution may be just the opposite, creating a safe space where they can make mistakes, learn, and discover their own truths without our constant interference. This trust is not passivity or disinterest. It is a mature love that recognizes that each person needs to develop their own internal compass, their own references, their own relationship with the consequences of their choices. When we are able to take this step back, not out of abandonment or indifference, but out of deep respect for the individual's process of growth, we communicate a powerful message. I believe in you. I trust in your ability to navigate life, even when you are still learning how to do so. And control disguised as love is one of the biggest pitfalls in family relationships. Those unsolicited pieces of advice we offer just for the hell of it. Those concerns we voice over and over again. Those subtle attempts to influence decisions that we know deep down aren't ours to make. Letting go of that control is like letting go of hands that have been holding sand for too long. At first it feels like we're going to lose everything, but in reality, it's the only way to allow something new and beautiful to blossom. Genuine trust creates an emotional environment where our offspring feel free to share with us their successes and failures, their joys and heartaches, because they know they won't be bombarded with, "I told you so," or "you should have done it differently." Instead, they find in us a safe haven where they can process their experiences, receive emotional support when needed, and continue their journey strengthened by the unconditional love we offer. There is profound wisdom in recognizing that our role has evolved from controller to loving witness, someone who is genuinely interested in the journey, who celebrates the victories, who offers support in difficult times, but who does not try to direct the script of other people's lives. This role shift may be scary at first, but it can be liberating for us and for our children and grandchildren, creating space for more authentic, respectful, and deeply connected relationships. As these three attitudes begin to integrate into the way we relate to younger generations, a subtle but profound shift begins to take place throughout the family dynamic. Like concentric ripples in a pond, each shift in our emotional posture creates ripples that touch each family member in unexpected and beautiful ways. Children who once felt judged begin to open up more. Grandchildren who seemed distant begin to seek out our company spontaneously. Superficial conversations give way to dialogues that nourish the soul and create lasting memories. The interesting thing is that these changes don't happen overnight. They unfold like a delicate dance, where each gesture of openness on our part is gradually met by similar gestures from others. It's as if we're learning a new emotional language, where mutual respect replaces the old rigid hierarchies, where genuine curiosity about the other replaces automatic judgments, where loving presence replaces attempts at control. This transformation in action manifests itself in surprisingly simple, everyday ways: longer conversations over Sunday lunch, phone calls that naturally stretch because there's room for vulnerabilities to be shared, hugs that linger a little longer because they carry a different quality of intimacy. Grandchildren begin to ask questions about our history, our youth, our dreams, not out of obligation, but out of genuine curiosity about who we are beyond our family roles. The magic happens when we realize that we haven't lost our authority or importance by adopting these new stances. In fact, we've gained something much more valuable: authentic, emotional relevance. Our children and grandchildren begin to seek us out, not because they need our solutions, but because they value our presence, our perspective, our company. They want to be with us not out of familial obligation, but out of genuine choice, out of real affinity. There is a special joy in discovering that we can be amazed by our own descendants, their profound insights, their creativity, their unique way of seeing the world, when we stop trying to shape them and start simply admiring them. Every conversation becomes an opportunity for discovery. Every family gathering becomes a moment of genuine connection. Every act of affection becomes more meaningful because it is born of a love that has learned to love without conditions, without expectations, without hidden agenda. The most lasting legacy we can leave our children and grandchildren is not written in wills or stored in bank accounts. It is etched in the emotional memories we create through those moments of authentic connection, those moments when they felt truly seen, accepted, and loved exactly as they were. Years later, when we are physically absent, they will carry within them the memory of that mature love, that welcoming presence, that wisdom that knew when to speak and when to be silent, when to guide and when to simply follow. There is a peculiar timelessness to the relationships that have been healed and deepened during these golden years of life, as if we have discovered a secret fountain of emotional youth that allows us to experience richer, more meaningful connections just when our physical energy may be waning. It is as if life offers us a second chance to be parents and grandparents, but this time with less urgency and more wisdom, less control and more trust, less fear and more love. The transformation of these family relationships after 60 is not just a gift we give to younger generations. It is also a gift we give to ourselves. We discover more compassionate, more resilient, more authentically loving versions of who we can be. We discover that we still have much to learn, much to grow, much to offer, not as holders of absolute truth, but as fellow travelers who have chosen to walk side by side with those we love most. These transformed relationships become our emotional masterpiece, our greatest legacy, our most lasting contribution to the world. Families where love flows freely, where differences are celebrated, where each member feels valued for his or her uniqueness. And perhaps that is the true measure of a life well lived. Not how many years we have accumulated, but how many hearts we have touched deeply, how many authentic connections we have built, how much unconditional love we have planted in the secret garden of the souls of those who will carry on our story. The time we have left is not measured only in calendars. It is measured in opportunities to create moments that will become precious memories, in chances to heal what needs to be healed, to say what needs to be said, to embrace with the intensity of someone who understands that each encounter can be unique and unrepeatable. These three simple attitudes, listening without judgment, embracing vulnerability, letting go of control, are not just relationship techniques. They are keys that open doors to experiences of mature love that can completely redefine the meaning of family and leave eternal marks on the hearts of those we love most. When we look back and try to identify the moments that truly defined our lives, it is rarely the great professional achievements or material milestones that shine brightest in our memories. It is those tender moments of authentic human connection, where someone saw us beyond the masks we wore, where we were loved not despite our imperfections but through them. These three attitudes we explore together are not just strategies for improving family relationships. They are invitations to become braver, more vulnerable versions of ourselves, capable of offering our descendants something that no material inheritance can provide: the experience of feeling deeply valued and unconditionally accepted by someone who has chosen to love them with the wisdom that only years can teach. Real transformation happens in the silent spaces between words, in hugs that last a few seconds longer, in glances that communicate, "I see you," without having to say it, in conversations that start out superficial but naturally deepen because there's a safe space for them to do so. After our 60s, we have a unique opportunity to become the kind of presence our children and grandchildren will remember fondly when we're gone. Not as authority figures who tried to control them, but as companions on the journey who walked alongside them, offering support when they needed it and confidence when they needed to fly alone. The most lasting legacy we can leave isn't etched in stone or written in legal documents. It's etched in the emotional memories of those we love, in those moments when they felt truly seen, understood, and accepted in their entirety. Years later, when our physical presence is just a memory, they will still carry within them the echo of those transformative experiences, the sense of emotional safety we offered, the freedom to be authentic that we provided, the unconditional love we demonstrated through our genuine presence, and our ability to love without trying to control. There is a quiet urgency at this moment in our lives, not the desperate rush of youth, but the quiet awareness that each day is a precious and unrepeatable opportunity to plant seeds of mature love in the hearts of those who matter most. Each conversation can be a bridge built. Each gesture of understanding can be a wound healed. Each moment of genuine presence can be a memory that will warm someone's heart in future days when longing strikes. We don't know how many more Sunday lunches we will have, how many more phone calls we will receive, how many more hugs we will be able to give. But we do know that each one can be an opportunity for transformative love. The time we have left is not just ours. It also belongs to all those we choose to love deeply. And our most sacred responsibility is to use it to build connections that transcend our physical presence. When we finally leave, the question that will echo will not be, how much did we accumulate? Or how much advice did we give? But how much love did we plant? And how many hearts did we touch with our authentic presence? If this content has awakened something within you, if you recognized yourself in these words, if you felt the call to transform your family relationships, then leave your mark here. Like this video so that others can discover these truths. Share it with those who can benefit from this transformation. Comment below which of these three attitudes touched your heart the most, and subscribe to this channel to continue this journey of emotional growth and authentic human connection. Each gesture of yours multiplies the reach of this message and can be the catalyst for other families to discover the magic of relationships truly transformed by mature and conscious love.